You get this call at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Is bungalow 8 open and available? Because me and Lance are checking in and we're going to need to stay there for a week. Call the front desk. The room is available. They check in within 30 minutes. 45 minutes later, room service is called. They need 45 bottles of tequila.
Unhospitality, the #1 podcast in the world.
Hi, guys, and have I got a good one for you today. I'm talking to my dear friend, Courtney Coleman, who went to Miami for a party, believe it or not. She was living in Atlanta, went to party in Miami for the VMAs, and loved the hotel that she was partying at so much, she decided she wanted to work there. Not only did she get the job, but she worked her way from a very entry level position to be the director of entertainment and sports sales. You want to talk about celebrity stories? Courtney's got them up to the eyeballs. This is a very entertaining chat here. Now, we recorded this episode at the East Hotel in downtown Miami. And if you don't know the East Hotel, you should. It's one of the top hotels in Miami, still got a tremendous amount of sex appeal and celebrity star power 10 years later after opening. Wonderfully appointed rooms. But from my perspective, booking groups and events around the world, this is one of the easier hotels to work with. They value relationships, they get your clients, they make the contracting process easy, and I just can't say enough good things about them. So check out the East Miami, and thanks for checking out this episode of Unhospitality. Without further ado, here is Courtney Coleman. Welcome to Unhospitality, guys. We are the #1 podcast in the world. I'm joined by my very good friend and colleague, Courtney Coleman. Courtney, welcome to Unhospitality.
Thank you for having me.
Courtney, tell me a little bit about your path to hospitality and what brought you to this wonderful industry in the first place.
My path is an untraditional path. I got into hospitality very organically. I came down to Miami for a party for VMAs. MTV was having VMA weekend. I came down to have a good time and I stumbled into the Delano Hotel. And this was over like 22 years ago. And I walked in and I looked around and I said, well, how does someone possibly get a job here? I didn't know anything about
You were
hospitality.
drawn in by the allure of
By the allure of the good time.
the party. Yeah.
Right? By the party. I had a business background. I went to school for business management, had a job working at a marketing analysis firm. And so it was just a organic weekend where I came down here, walked into Delano. Again, like I said, wondered how someone got a job there shortly after I did.
I mean, and not for nothing. If you're going to be allured by any hotel, the Delano's a
I
pretty
mean,
sexy
it's pretty
hotel to call
iconic.
attention.
It's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah. Yeah.
iconic,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
was definitely it was a time where it was the time where the paparazzi was like big, like young Hollywood was big. And I
Okay.
was really always drawn into like where to go, what to do, what's hot, what's not. So like again, the Delano had the nightlife, the restaurants.
Were you living in Miami at the time or no?
No, I
This
was
was on a
living in
trip.
Atlanta.
Okay.
And so again, it kind of drew me in and I was at a turning point in my life. I was like 25 years old and I was like, I don't have to live in Atlanta.
Yeah.
How do I move down to Miami and I could get a job? I can get a job anywhere,
Yeah.
right? So I did. I moved down to Miami shortly after, filled out an application to the Delano and started in the reservations
So you
department.
actually got a job at the
I
Delano.
actually got a job
You,
there.
you
Yeah.
dreamed
and
big and you got it.
and had knew nothing about hospitality. But my boss at the time said, if you can last 6 months in this industry, you can go into any department you want.
So true.
So he said, he was like, so even if you start in reservations, I know you might be a little overqualified for this position, but just give it 6 months. And I did. And then after 6 months, I transferred into the sales department as a coordinator and just kind of, again, grew organically within my profession, within the career from that. And that was 22 years
Then
ago,
it's been off
right?
to the races since then.
Yeah.
But now, when we speak off to the races, you've got you started at a glamorous property. You've got a pretty glamorous career too. You specialize in sports and entertainment. I mean, of course, we're here telling the untold stories of hospitality. You might have to keep some names secret for this one, but I can only imagine the level of exposure you've had to the celebrity lifestyle, sports entertainment. That's a pretty active market, let's say.
I mean, so again, like just circling back to Morgan's Hotel Group in the early 2000s was the highlight of young Hollywood.
Yeah.
Everyone who was anyone was
What were
in
some of the
my
brands from Morgan's Hotel Group?
so Morgan's Hotel Group was a collection of the Delano, the Shore Club, and when I left, we were opening the Mondrian. So again, it was the highlight of anyone who's who in Hollywood was staying there.
I don't think people appreciate these days. Like back in the like now, South Beach is the place to be. It's a very sexy destination, whatever, the American Riviera, I guess. Back in the day, there were only a very few properties that were it was kind of a sleepy retirement town for a while. Madonna started to come on the scene. Johnny Versace got his mansion there, started to really get a bit more of a buzz going on. And I think that the Morgan's Hotel Group were really on the forefront of making South
They
Beach sexy.
they were definitely on the forefront. Ian Schrager is the he revitalized Delano. So he was the originator of Studio 54.
Oh yeah.
So when he took over the Delano, his vision was making sure that, like, if you're gonna go to a destination, like, I want it to be the best restaurant, I want it to be the best club, I want you to have an experience. He created the lifestyle brand, right? So, the Delano was like his baby down in Miami, and then he opened the Shore Club, and then the brand itself grew as a lifestyle brand, right? But most of the people that, that stayed at those properties he wanted to see good-looking people
Yeah.
having good time,
Bringing
right?
some of that Studio 54 energy to the hotel space.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and that's kinda what my vibe was, my early 20 or my mid-20s, right? That
sure.
was my vibe. I was
Yeah,
like, I wanted to be where they were. Who are these people? Well, actually, I knew who they were. I just wanted to be in the same space as them, right? And so, like, even, like, when you're in your mid-20s, you're really trying to figure out, like, what is my career path? When you move down to Miami, you're going into one of 3 directions, right? You're either going into hospitality, you're gonna be a lawyer, or you're gonna go into real estate, and I
yeah.
wasn't gonna go to law
There's
school, and I
another
was
somewhat, devious, profession you can get here down in Miami too, but we won't
exactly.
we there's several devious
Right,
professions you get in Miami.
right,
On the above the board,
right,
business models, those are
exactly.
your 3. You're right, you're right.
So, yeah, I was all into the young Hollywood, and so I got this job with Morgan's Hotel Group. I started with Delano, and then, the main focus was Hollywood entertainment, who's who. And so in the sales department, it was our job to create these environments for those people to want to hang out, right? So, I mean, I started as a coordinator, but quickly grew into a sales manager that handled that segment. And within that segment, like, you have to be very discreet, but I also you have to be able to play,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
of course.
And the more successful you are in the industry is, like, if people like you, right? So, and you
It's all
have
about
to
relationships, right?
it's all about relationships. And so I could easily translate work into play, and that's one of the reasons why I really thrived in this industry because I liked both. Like, I can I can really focus when I need to focus, but then, like, if my focus is having a good time, I'm all in.
I that whole idea of work hard, play hard, I don't think there's not a better representation than that model than the person who handles sports and entertainment in a hotel. That work
Right.
hard, play hard motto. I mean, working in Vegas perhaps, but definitely working in Miami, that work hard, play hard motto applies specifically
Oh my
to the
gosh.
person handling the entertainment market.
No, absolutely, and, like I said, like, working with that brand, having the business card that said Morgan's Hotel Group was almost having, like, a black Amex down here in
I'll
Miami,
bet.
right? Like, I could get into any club, any restaurant, like, if I was walking in, our clients that were staying at the hotel, like, they organically knew us because we were their contacts on property, like, they thought, like,
Yeah.
they were
You could
we were
move heaven and earth for them. Yeah.
welcoming them into our
Yeah,
homes.
of course.
So, like, the access that I had well, the access that started because, not to say that I still have all this access, but, like, I have a lot of connections that are just have organically grown throughout the trajectory of my career, right? At 25, when I'm going to a New Year's Eve party and I'm standing next to, like, Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie,
Yeah,
because at that time, The Simple Life was out, right?
sure.
Like, they're, like, the biggest reality stars, but probably
They
the
were
most
reality stars before reality stars were a thing, right? They were
exactly,
like the
right?
OG reality
I
stars.
mean, it was just like unreal. So, like, when you talk about, like, untold stories, right, of the hospitality world, and
All
I'm
right, hold on.
focused
Let me roll in my sleeves. This is where the good stuff
right,
comes
gotta
in.
roll the
Go
sleeves, like,
ahead.
I do have a couple stories that I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened."
So without naming names or without going into too much salacious detail, give us some details of like what happens in the entertainment world. I'm sure I have this vision of like, fixtures. I have a vision of like, people getting into all kinds of trouble. Was that, again, you don't have to name names, but did you see stuff that kind of
Oh,
shocked you, the
yeah.
behind the scenes stuff?
I not only saw say and the thing is I can name names because they've now told these stories that are in, like, magazines, and I'm like, "I was there.
Okay,
I
go.
was the
Oh, go
contact," or
ahead. Go,
whatever.
go, go.
But there was a time in the early 2000s or mid-2000s or whatever when, Lance Armstrong and Matthew McConaughey were buddies. They were like buddies. They were coming down to Miami all the time, and
Okay.
they always stayed at Delano and Shore Club. But there was one time in particular where they called me and they said, "Hey, Courtney, is Bungalow 8 open and available?" And I
What
was
was
like,
it? The
"Yeah,
what?
Bungalow 8."
Bungalow 8. Okay.
So at the Shore Club there, they had bungalows, poolside bungalows,
Got it.
right? And they were like two-story rooms that
Cabanas at the pool, but
yeah,
they're but
cabanas at the
really
pool,
pimped out
exactly.
cabanas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they say they call in the industry or the segment that I work is like a 24-hour, 7 days a week, nights, weekends, holidays. Like, people have our cell phones, like, on speed dial, right?
It has to
So
be that
when they
way.
call, we answer because not only do we like to have the buzz of a celebrity on property, but they spend good money, right?
And
So
they don't keep business hours 9 to 5. You
they
you
don't,
have to
right?
be on call pretty much 24/7. Yeah.
Exactly. So, you get this call at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Is Bungalow 8 open and available? Because me and Lance are checking in and we're going to need to stay there for a week. Call the front desk. The room is available. They check in within 30 minutes. 45 minutes later, room service is called. They need 45 bottles of tequila
Oh,
and 40 limes. So, I mean, at that point, everyone's like, we'll make it happen,
yeah.
and they did. They made it happen, and they also walked,
I'm trying to do the math though. 45 bottles of tequila and only 40 limes. So 5 bottles with no limes
right,
and only 1 lime per bottle of tequila. Okay.
right.
All right.
To say the least, I mean, you can Google this, there's pictures on the internet, but,
Okay.
like, they were at that pool our pool at the Shore Club for, I don't know, entire week, and, like, with, like,
Steady
a
rotation.
steady rotation of
Oh,
people coming in
I can
and out
imagine.
of that Bungalow 8, which we call the beach house, but
Okay.
that is just, like, one story that, like, that was probably my first, like, "Oh my gosh, this is my life,"
Yeah.
right? Like, so and so just called me on my cell phone
Yeah.
and, like, this is happening, and that did happen. But then, like, stories
So
from the f
you're again, to be clear, these celebrities and these Hollywood players have access to you to get things done at the hotel. You're their go-to person to
Yeah,
make sure their needs are met. That's
absolutely.
a pretty big responsibility
I
there.
mean, yeah, it's one of those things where it's unreal, but it's like people don't understand. There's always people behind the people,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Like, yeah, they have me on speed dial, but then I have to have someone else on speed dial to make sure that it's executed, right? So it's like I might be the point, but I'm not the one that's executing, like getting the tequila or getting the limes and making sure that that rotation.
But you know what's funny though? I always say this, it's not that you have to know where everything is, but you have to know where to go to get it. You have to know the people who do have
Absolutely.
access. So if you can
Absolutely.
serve as that point person across multiple points of access and be that one point of contact, that's saying something too. You are the fixer, I guess, in that aspect.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, we kinda play a lot of roles in
Sure
hospitality,
do.
but, like, and everyone has a specialty, and, like, so this segment just kinda organically became one of my specialties because when it comes to celebrity, I will say, as much as I do know who someone is and I'm like, I know all the background story, like, I don't really get starstruck. So it's just like,
It
I
I would
look at some
imagine it almost has to come with the territory when you're working in that space, right? You
right,
can't be fawning over every person that walks in the door as a celebrity if you're
absolutely.
gonna be taking care of them, right?
No,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
like, and you just realize that they're regular people just trying to have a good time. Unfortunately, they're just well recognized, when you see, like, our circle of friends going out, you'd think that we were rock stars too, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Like, so it's just like, we just don't have that level of fame, but we definitely know how to have a good
Fair
time,
enough.
you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Um, did you find any compromising situations you were put into where you felt like, God, morally, I'm not sure if I can actually accomplish this? And how did you handle something like that? Where, because let's face it, I mean, some of these celebrities are pushing the border of what's legal and what's not. Did you ever find yourself in a position where you had to be like, you know what, I would love to, but I'm not going to be able to support you on this one?
Yeah, I mean, again, Miami in the early 2000s and working with that a brand, there's again, I have no problem saying this person's name because he's talked about it several times in interviews and in magazines. Scott Stapp, the lead singer is Creed. He checked into the hotel one weekend. He
Okay.
was having a he needed to have a staycation or just some time away from his family. But at this time, apparently he was battling some substance abuse,
Okay.
right?
He's
So
been pretty public about that.
he's
You're right.
been very, very public about it. And
Yeah.
that's why I have no problem like saying this is what happened.
Yeah.
So he was going through a tumultuous time
It's
where,
a very delicate way to put it. Yeah.
yeah,
Tumultuous time.
I know. I'm like, I don't know. It was very, very like, the position he was in with his substance abuse had his personality in going in many, many different directions, right? So I mean, like I said, a lot of people have my number on speed dial. He might have called me 100 times in one day.
Holy smokes.
And he was definitely under the influence of something, right? And like, so the conversations that we were having, I was just like, wait, I'm
How do you even
not
keep up with that?
I'm not trained for
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I'm just in sales, right?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
I'm not like, so yeah. So the conversations that we were having back to back, and he was thinking he was paranoid. He was thinking someone was watching him. He was being followed.
Wow.
I went up to the suite several times just to be like, no, like, I think you're okay. And he was like, but don't you see there's something on the floor? I think that's a powdery substance. I definitely didn't bring that up here. You know, if you need security to come up here and just check my bags. And I was like, you know what? If you feel comfortable with, security coming up here just to double check, like, I have no problem facilitating that. But like, this went on and on for about 10 hours. And then I finally went home and then get a call like maybe around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was
Okay.
from our hotel security. And they said, uh, Courtney, we just need to let you know. And actually, let me just back up to say that he had checked into our penthouse suite, which is 30 stories high,
Okay.
right?
Uh-oh.
So there's a balcony, a wraparound balcony. It's a two-bedroom suite. It's 5,000 square feet.
I'm nervous. I'm
It's
nervous
huge.
already
It's a
as
huge
where
room.
the story is going.
So I get this call around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Hotel security calls and says, Courtney, Scott has fallen off the balcony.
No, my god.
And I said, oh my God, because again, like, I'm, like, shocked. "What do you mean he's fallen off the balcony?" And they were like, "He's fallen off the balcony, but he fell on the roof." And I'm like, "All right." My heart then is kinda, "Okay." He fell in the roof into the second the balcony, the suite below.
Not
Okay.
great, but it sure
Right?
as hell beats the 30th floor drop.
Exactly. So he falls onto the roof of the balcony below, which at the time, I had another celebrity checking in, which was the rapper T.I.
Okay.
So apparently he had been laying on top of this roof of the balcony. His arm is dangling, like he's just laying there moaning. And Ti is checking into the room, and he walks outside to sit on his balcony, and he hears this moaning. And he was like, "What is going on?" And he sees Scott's arm dangling down, and he was like, "Oh my God, what is
Was
happening?"
T.I. the one that discovered that Scott was there that no one had noticed
T.I. is the
until
one who discovered he was
No.
there and called security, and then as security went up to T.I.'s room, he looks at the security and says, "Wow, you guys really do have stars falling from the sky."
Oh, that's well done. That's why he's a rapper. That's why he gets paid the big bucks to put the
Right?
words on paper, right?
But yeah, and I was like, went up to the hotel. I was there, police report and everything. But I was just like, the only reason I again feel comfortable telling this story is because
He's been
he has
very
told
open
it
about
several
it. Yeah,
times. But
sure.
like, people just don't realize that people, like, the people behind the people. Like, yes, I was called. Yes, I was there. Yes, I was responsible for both of them checking in. Like, I knew Scott was in the higher suite. Scott was in the higher suite. Ti was in the one below him.
Yeah.
Never did I know that's how they would meet. But I feel like there is, like, some kind of, Scott has mentioned somewhere where T.I. like saved his
No
life,
kidding.
right? Like he's
Interesting.
like he mentions him as being one of the people that was like influential in like him changing his life. And so,
That's
I
remarkable.
mean, yeah, it's a wild story
Well,
though.
let's take it there too, because you're talking about changing lives. I wonder what are the lessons after having such an inside view of the way that people with access to everything live their lives. What do you take home from that? Like, I can only imagine some of the lessons that come away with is like, man, this is not all everything that glitters isn't gold.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things where, like I said, you just realize that people are human, right? Because it's like, yeah, maybe they're able to do anything and everything they want to, but at the end of the day, like people are still dealing with their inner struggles and battles and
It's almost like devices get put on hyper mode because you have access to any whatever you want to do, you could do it times 10 and pay for it within, minutes. That to me almost seems like a recipe for putting your vices on hyperdrive.
no, absolutely. I mean, you have so many different extremes too. Like I've worked actually not with some, with most of the top talent in the world, not even just in the US, but in the world. But some people that you would just assume would just be completely high maintenance are the least maintenance people. Like some people that like have this persona of like being out and partying and drinking, like they're like only water in my room, please. Only fruit. Like, do not feel like you need to clean my room. Like, some of them are the most humble people in the world that I'm just like, oh, well, do they have a rider? Is it long? And it's like, no, they just need water every day.
Was there any kind of face to face interaction or conversation you had that really impressed you about
Oh
somebody?
my gosh, there are a couple. I mean, the one person that stands out is Jennifer Lopez. She might be one of the kindest people like in I've ever dealt with
That's
in my
interesting.
life.
That's
Yeah,
not I don't see her that way. So that's kind of an interesting spin
yeah, I mean,
on.
she is she surrounds herself with people that she trusts and, like, her family. She's super healthy, like, everything about her, she's just a really, really
Like she's
kind
what, like
person.
56 years old and looks like she's 26. So she
Yeah,
definitely
right,
is,
no,
is on the healthy kick for
she's
sure.
amazing. Jamie Foxx
Okay.
is one of the most gracious people you will ever meet. If you ever have an encounter to, like, work with him, he will walk in and, like, everyone from the doorman to every single housekeeper, like, knows him, loves
Now, see,
him.
he
He's
impresses me as someone like that. He
Yeah,
impresses me
he
as a
is
real down to
one of the
earth
most
guy.
kind
Yeah,
humans on this
that's
earth.
amazing.
Like, when they travel too, like people don't understand a lot of these entertainers are traveling from city to city. And they're tired because they're not traveling a lot of times they're not traveling for vacation. They're traveling for work, right? So not only do they always have to be on when they're working, but to be on behind the
Gotta be
scenes and
exhausting.
still be gracious. Like it's just like yeah, there's a handful of people that are just like will stand out that I'm always like, "Oh my god, so and so's coming back,"
Amazing.
or and you just get excited because they're so, so, so kind.
So now you find yourself you're based in Miami, but you're working in Chicago. Tell me a little bit about your current gig and what your responsibilities are and what brought you to this new position you're in.
Absolutely. So I was in Miami. Well, I've been based in Miami for over 20 years. I worked after leaving Morgan's Hotel Group. I joined a brand called Kimpton
Yep.
Hotels. And at the time, Kimpton Hotels was a small boutique brand and kind of growing, just word of mouth, right?
Very neighborhood vibe, kind of nothing cookie cutter about Kimpton. They try to really
No,
imbibe
we were
the
the
neighborhood.
outside the box
Yeah.
type brand.
Really admirable. One of my favorite brands from that perspective.
I mean, it was a fun lifestyle brand. The reason I joined that brand is because they were trying to build the entertainment segment for the brand.
Okay.
So we were a collection of I say kids because we were still in our early 20s or mid 20s. And we were just kind of building the brand on the entertainment segment, right? And that was a lifestyle brand. It was fun. And it's like they gave us a bunch of money just to build a brand. And we did that.
So cool.
And I did that up until 2021. So I worked through the pandemic with Kimpton. And then after the pandemic, I had a brief moment of thinking I was going to get out of hospitality.
Was it the impact of the pandemic? Was it I mean, everything shut down, so finding jobs in the first place was difficult, but did you really did you sour on the industry because of the pandemic, or what had
Well,
happened?
It was interesting because, again, I the hospitality is in my blood. It's the only thing that I honestly feel comfortable doing. It is my
It's
career.
so funny how
But
many people, by the way, inside the hospitality industry say exactly the same thing. It's like,
yeah,
just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Like
pull
this,
me back
there's
in,
something
right?
inside of your blood that you just feel it's part of your nature. It's a second nature to you.
Absolutely. But during the pandemic, I work a segment where it is contingent on large crowds gathering. I deal with entertainment, so it's people in concerts, people touring. I deal with professional sports, so it is contingent on large crowds
And
gathering,
during the
right?
pandemic, there's
Right, during
not
the
much,
pandemic, it was
not
like,
many large
"No,
crowds.
social distancing,
Yeah.
no concerts are happening, like, this is not gonna happen for 2 years." So even though I was still working within the brand, it was just, like, impossible to think what the future looked like, right? So when I was presented a different opportunity, I was like, "You know what? I'm not walking away forever, but let me just see, let me pivot." And I pivoted for like a year. For like a year. And then and what I noticed during the
So you
pandemic
got
is
out of the industry for a while.
I got out of
Okay.
the
Mhm.
industry. It was like 10 months
Okay.
really. But what I realized during the pandemic is the only people traveling were super wealthy people, right? So it was like, all right, if I ever get back into hospitality, it would have to be the luxury segment only, right? Because I need to work with a brand or in a segment that even in a pandemic,
Recession proof.
it's recession
Yeah,
proof.
yeah, yeah. Pandemic
I
proof,
mean,
recession
right,
proof. Yeah.
exactly, because, like, super wealthy people were still traveling, so I was like, "It's time for me to elevate my career, like, I've done this lifestyle brand for a while, let me get into the luxury segment," and I was presented an opportunity, that was based in Chicago, right? So, what we also learned during the pandemic is you don't have to be on property to be able to sell the property,
Okay. I
right?
like that.
Like, working remote is possible. So I was approached about a position within a luxury brand, and I was like, absolutely. They still wanted me to deal with the entertainment segment. I knew it like the back of my hand. I've been doing it for over 20 years. I was like, it's a brand new property. Like, I'm dealing with only A-list clients. I was like, this is a win-win.
Sounds like right what you were looking for.
I mean, it was like, if I would have said it out loud, and I probably did, like, the universe was, like, opened its arms for
That's
me,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
And so I, interviewed, I got the position, and it was, like, amazing. I mean, it's been amazing because I am based in Miami. I work for a brand that's in Chicago property in a luxury hotel in Chicago. And I go back and forth maybe every month, every other month, and I'm there for a week or 2 weeks at a time. But I'm still dealing with the same clients. I'm still dealing with the same clients. They're still dealing with uber luxury presidential suites.
Must be tough.
I'm like, it's not my money. I'm like, it's only $25,000 a night. Will that work?
They're like,
And they're
yeah,
like,
sure.
I'll take a break
Yeah.
nights. I'm like, oh, even better.
Oh, it to be rich.
I know, right? But yeah, no, it's been really well. Like since the pandemic, like there's tons of money out there and people are spending it and people are staying in luxury hotels. So it all comes down, and you know this better than anyone. It comes down to relationships. Our industry in general, like if you're gonna be in it, you've got to be able to build relationships. People have to like you and they have
1000%.
to trust you. So
1000%. Talk to me about relationships you maintain within the hotel. I think sometimes we talk about relationships outside the hotel, but it sounds like you, again, we mentioned it earlier, you know where to go to get things done. Talk about the relationships internally. I think sometimes, especially from a operations standpoint, looking at sales, they
right.
tend to look at the sales department as kind of like, oh, those people over there. And it's not a reputation that hasn't been earned pretty well. Sometimes salespeople can treat operations like they're shit,
Right.
right?
No. Yeah, I get
How do
that.
you maintain the relationships within the hotel to make sure your clients are happy? And when we talk of relationships, I guess my point is it has to go in various directions, not just with your clients.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you know what? That's a lesson I learned at my first hotel position at Morgan's Hotel Group. My general manager was a man who knew every single person's
That's
name,
awesome.
right?
Within the hotel, you mean?
Within the
Yeah.
hotel. Like he just was somebody who he treated everyone as equals. There are some leaders that they can only talk to the top line, right? And then they have people that speak for them or whatever,
They
and they
build in
only
layers of separation between them and their
absolutely.
staff.
Like our GM at the time, like he kind of built that culture. And that's something that I've always admired. And I was like, oh, if I'm sitting here being able to call my GM by his first name, he knows me, like I've been to his house, I know his family. Like that's just kind of the environment I always wanted. Like I was like, this is how I want my professional career to be,
Sure.
right? People liked Mark. And
Give a shout
I
out. What
was
was Mark's name?
his name Mark Tamas. He's an amazing person, like, to this day, we're still connected on Facebook. Like, I bet if I, like, tagged him right now or called him, he would just be like,
Let's
"W
do
we
it.
could talk." He's just an amazing
Let's
person.
do it. In fact, when we release this episode, I want you to do that because I think it's
Yeah.
important for people to know the impact they've made in this industry.
No, yeah. Mark Tamas is and anyone who worked within Morgan's Hotel Group in Miami between 2000 and 2012, maybe, that worked with him will back me
A
up.
bit of a legend.
He's a legend in Miami. He is an amazing person. He's kind, he's gracious, and the culture that he built within the brand is kind of what has led me to be like, that's the type of leader I wanna be, right? So that is the DNA that I started within Morgan's Hotel Group that I bought into Kimpton. Kimpton was also a brand that, like, they were like, "It's easier work isn't hard if you like the people you work with." Everyone that we worked with, like, we're so close. Like, everyone from day one, we were just like, "Alright, you get it. You understand what we're doing." We kind of built this brand together as friends, like, collectively, as you know, like, even how we're friends now. The friendships that were formed at work are just they can't be replicated, like, they become family.
So
I've
true.
been in weddings, I've seen babies born, I've seen people, like, we've grown in this industry together. It's just something, like, I learned really early, it's easier to do your job if people like you.
So true.
You know
So
what I'm
true.
saying?
And
So,
it doesn't
it's just
cost anything
like
to be kind.
yeah, it
It's
really
a
doesn't
common
cost
theme I've had
anything
in
to be
the
kind.
first few episodes of this podcast. We always seem to land at this place here. It pays to be kind to people. And I'll tell you something too, as you're talking, I'm thinking about our WhatsApp group that we have, industry friends through the pandemic. It's not a large group. What is this? 10 of us on there, maybe 11, something
Right,
like
yeah.
that. Core group of people that we've known each other through the years. I think our group formed just before the pandemic, but
Right.
talk about the sanity needed when the world came to an end. We were like each other's lifeline. We get on call. We do like Friday night, Zoom parties where
My
all the
gosh,
the folks in
yes.
this chat would just get together and commiserate and tell
Mhm.
stories and what's going on in your world and people from all around the world, Chicago, Miami, Colombia,
We're everywhere,
Panama.
yeah.
I mean, there was
Mhm.
like of this group, we were far flung, but we stayed together and to your point about keeping relationships close and how you form family within this industry and people that really sustain you through difficult times. That's a great reflection, I think, as you're talking about building relationships within the
Yeah.
hotel.
No, yeah, it was just really important to me to be I mean, we spend more time with our at work sometimes than we do with our family,
Facts.
right? So it's just like if I'm gonna be spending 10 hours a day with someone, like, I wanna like
So
them.
true.
And
And
so
be
it would
likable.
and be and be likable, right? Like, it takes more energy to be, like, mad and angry and just is not that's not my vibe, right? Like, it's just not my vibe at all. So I kinda carried that throughout Morgan's Hotel Group, throughout Kempton, throughout, I worked for St. Regis for a bit. I opened that property in Chicago before moving to the Langham, Chicago, and that's where I am now. But even, like, with every property that I've worked with, it's important for me to know the people that I work with, I'm not just like, "I'm in at 9, I'm done at 5, don't contact me." Like, I wanna know, like, "Jeremy, when's your birthday?" Like, "When's your daughter's birthday? When's your wife's?" Like, "Hey, when you're in town when you guys are in town, why don't you come over for dinner?" It's just important to build those type of relationships, but that's how I've been very successful in, like, the segment that I work too, because it's like, you know, again, I understand that, like, when clients are traveling, they're traveling for work, but it's just like those extra touches that you can go out to, like, remember, like, kind of remember the things that you actually talked about. Like, we're not just having a conversation so we can be like, all right, we had that conversation, we're out. It's like, I honestly want to know you. You
Well,
know what I'm saying?
speaking of extra touches, I've actually stolen one of your special touches that you presented to me over the years. We have done business together. When you were working at the Kimpton Miami, the Epic Hotel, I booked a group with you, a few groups, if I recall.
Yeah.
One group was particularly peculiar, let's say, with their contracting process, and it took us a while to get it done.
Yeah.
And I
I
don't know if you
remember.
remember
Yeah.
this. Do you? Yeah, I can see the
Yes.
smile on your
Yeah.
face. You sent me Staples "That Was Easy"
Yeah.
button as a you kind of like, "Oh, that was easy." And I just remember the beautiful irony of it. Of course, it wasn't easy at all, but your sense of humor with the whole thing, and then you sent it to me. Since that moment, I have one in my cart all the time on Amazon, and when I hit a particularly tough negotiation with a hotel, and I'm extra thankful for the way that the hotel has pulled through, I'll send them a "That Was Easy" button. And hey, you got a little surprise coming to you in the mail. That was easy. So anytime they're on that desk, I use it's worn out now. I don't even know where it is.
No, but it's so funny. Yeah. I mean, it's just like little things like that. You have to be memorable, you have to like do things that are not not so much so outside of the box, but just something that is just like, I want to let you know that
That's a $10 kitschy little thing, but here
exactly.
we are, whatever, 10 years later talking about it. That's an
Right.
impactful moment. It's a beautiful thing. So let me ask you finally as we wrap up this podcast here, if you could sum up hospitality and what it's meant to you and what have you learned uh, in this beautiful industry that we find ourselves in.
One of the things that I've learned is not everyone needs to take a traditional path, right? So, like I started this interview with saying, I stumbled into hospitality, right? I came from a world of, all right, you graduate from high school, you go 4 years in college, right? You figure out what you're going to do. Oh, you're going to do business. Well, what does that mean? So I was just kind of like floating. But hospitality is a huge industry that you can really find your path in, right?
Sure thing.
So you don't always have to follow that traditional path to figure out where you're going. So, like, you have these young kids that are just like, well, I don't know what I want to be, right? I don't know what I want to be. I know I don't want to go down. I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be an attorney. I don't want to get into business, but I'm a creative. Like, where do these creatives go? Well, there's so many avenues and so many different paths in hospitality. Like, I got into sales, but like my best friends are into marketing and digital marketing and PR and operations. Like, there's so many different paths in hospitality. So I say all this to say, if you are out there and you're creative and you're not quite sure what your path looks like, maybe hospitality is a career that you could look into.
I love it. What a
Yeah.
beautiful way to end this podcast. Courtney Coleman, I'm so thrilled you came to join me on Hospitality.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you inviting me here. I'm very excited to see where this podcast goes.
As am I. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Tune in every Friday for a new episode. We're Unhospitality, the number podcast in the world, bringing you the untold stories of hospitality. Until the next time, safe travels.